So we have all of our teen leaders here except for our president, Shoshana. Shoshana is suffering with a migraine this evening and won't be joining us until maybe at the end. So a lot of these teens who have joined us tonight were totally available to jump in and take on some slides for this presentation of the Yom HaShoah Seder. This is our 4th annual Yom HaShoah Seder. And I'm really excited for all of you guys to be here with us. And this is a little note from Shoshana, who's not here to read it. So think about her voice as you read it.
Do you want me to read it aloud, Natalie, maybe?
Oh, yeah, Rabbi Abby will be Shoshana for right now.
I'll go ahead and play. I can't fill Shoshana's shoes because they are unfillable, but I will stand in for her in this moment. Some parts of the service have been edited to accommodate the unreliable nature of technology. We ask for your patience as we manage this new format. During the service, please mute your microphones as we will have designated prayer and song leaders. But despite this request, we still hope that you will sing with the leader while you remain muted. There will be a point in the Seder where we will invite you to share personal stories and feelings. We also recognize that all materials and foods mentioned in the Seder may not be accessible to you at this time. So we welcome you to adapt based on what you do have. And we understand if you'll be unable to partake in that aspect of the Seder. Thank you so much for your attendance at this event.
And now the rabbi will lead us in an opening song.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for remaining on after the service to join us for this Seder, or for joining us specifically for this Seder if you have come on for that purpose. We gather here this evening to mourn. Of the many tragedies our people have endured, the Holocaust holds a place of singular horror. Yet we recognize that even in the face of great evil, we held to our humanity and our faith and emerged as a Jewish people strengthened in our resolve to remain Jews. We therefore begin with the words of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. All the world is a very narrow bridge. The important thing is not to be afraid. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod, kol haolam kulo gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod. Vehoikor, lo lefachad klar, vehoikor, lo lefachad klar. Yai rai rai rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod.
And now we will be lighting our candles. So we light the candles as our ancestors have always done. They bring light to our lives and mark special days. The mismatched candlesticks remind us of the resilience of our ancestors in the dark times. They made do with what they had and never gave up their determination to hold on to their Judaism. Blessed is the match consumed in the kindling flame. Blessed is the flame that burns in the secret fastness of the heart. We pause to light these candles, symbols of the human spirit that fought to bring light through darkness. This light will stand. This light will stand as a permanent marker as we honor their life and memory. Gabe, or Sylvia?
As we gather together, we leave a place for those who were lost. If we remember them, they are not lost forever. Here, at the beginning of our journey, we fill the cup of the lost with only a few drops of wine. In this way, we remember their determination to hold on to their traditions when they had nothing. As we prepare ourselves for our journey of remembrance, we drink a cup of wine in memory of the sweet life we had before the destruction. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam borei peri hagafen. Blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, who created the fruit of the vine, l'chaim.
Jewish life in Vilna was vibrant and exciting, recalls Sima Sirkovich. At home, I was adored. I loved my school. I loved to read history and study literature and art. From early childhood, the theater was my passion. Alicia German remembers, we had so many things to be proud of. The Hebrew schools, the Talmud Torah house, and our joy and pride. The great synagogues of Berchach, I forgot how to do Poland pronunciation. Poland. It was very impressive. It was a very impressive large structure with tall stained glass windows. It was this synagogue that my brother Bunyo had his bar mitzvah. We were a warm family whose life followed a quiet, carefree routine, said Miriam Yahav. We were all born in, I should have looked these up,
Bialystok.
Thank you. And our roots reached back generations upon generations, living there amidst friends, neighbors, and acquaintances. Living with this loving background, the years flowed peacefully. Pick up a sprig of rosemary and smell it. Closest thing I have. We smell this roseberry for remembrance of the sweet, flavorful life we had. Baruch atah Adonai. Oh, are you reading now? Sorry.
Go for it, Jacob. I think someone's just unmuted.
Oh, okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei menim v'zamim.
The travel starts. Then there arose in Germany a man whose hatred knew no bounds, and this hatred spread like poison in water. The Germans afflicted us with cruel laws and humiliations. They did not care who we were or what we did, whether we were religious or secular, city or country, patriot or veteran, only that we were Jews. They made us wear yellow stars or blue stars to mark us as Jews. It is possible they no longer regard us as human beings and brand us just like cattle, asked Maka Ronikas from Poland. In Hungary, Ava Heyman wrote, "Every day, they keep issuing new laws against Jews. Today, for example, they took all our appliances away from us. The sewing machine, the radio, the telephone, the vacuum cleaner, the electric fryer, my camera, and my bicycle." Augie said, "We should be happy they're taking things and not people." Our lives were constricted. We were banned from riding the trains and forbidden to drive. We could only shop during a few short hours and only from Jewish stores. We could not even sit in our own gardens in the evenings. Eventually, our children were forbidden from school.
In the village churchyard, there grows an old yew. Every spring it blossoms anew. Old passports can't do that, my dear. Old passports can't do that. The consul banged the table and said, "If you've got no passport, you're officially dead. But we are still alive, my dear, but we are still alive." Went to a committee. They offered me a chair, asked me politely to return next year. But where shall we go today, my dear? But where shall we go today?
I guess in quotations, fill the second set of cups with sweet tea. The harsh changes in our lives crept upon us as dusk before night. In this dark time, our days were bitter and we cried. The Germans made us live in ghettos, small areas cut off from the outside world. With so many people in such a small area, many families were packed into each small apartment. Almost nothing crossed the ghetto wall. There was never enough food. Many people died. Chaim Kaplan observed in his diary, "If you stand on a balcony and look down on the ghetto streets stretching in front of you, you see nothing but a vast expanse of human heads. The ebb and flow of waves of tens of thousands of people. Almost everyone is dressed in the same manner, and every face wears the same expression of Jewish sorrow." Psalm 56 recalls our sorrow. "Every day they make my world sorrowful. All their thoughts about me are for evil. They gather and hide. They watch my steps. They hope to capture my soul. I feel as if I'm in a box." Yitzhok
Rudashevsky
Rudashevsky wrote, "There is no air to breathe. Wherever you go, you encounter a gate that hems you. I feel as if I have been robbed. My freedom is being robbed from me. My home in the familiar Vilna streets I love so much. I have been cut off from all of that is dear and precious to me."
Wine was often impossible to get in the ghetto. Rabbi Ephraim Oshrai in the Kovno ghetto ruled that sweet tea could be used instead. "We drink this tea in memory of the wine they could not find. Raise your glasses and recite the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine."
I was asked by people in the Kovno ghetto whether they might fulfill the mitzvah of lighting the Shabbat candles by using electric lights. People who all their lives have been careful to fulfill this mitzvah were unable to obtain candles because of the very fact they were locked up in the ghetto. Electricity, however, was available. I ruled that where it was not possible under any circumstance to obtain Shabbat candles, it is permissible to recite the blessing on electric lighting. Rabbi Ephraim Oshri responds up from the Kovno ghetto. Dip a potato skin in salt water and recite these lines. Don't have one. We eat potato skins to remember the hunger of the ghetto. We dip them in salt water to remember the tears we shed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pori ha'adama. Blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the earth.
Words fail as we come to the darkest times. The Germans began killing Jews in large numbers throughout Europe. They started in the east with the murderers of whole cities of Jews. The prophet Isaiah laments, "For your sake we face death all day long. We are considered sheep to be slaughtered." Why? Chava Quinta asked repeatedly. Always the answer was the same: because you are Jews. Mothers and fathers, children and grandparents, all were murdered without mercy simply for being Jews. But we did not die alone. Roma people, gays, people with disabilities, and any who dared oppose the Germans' cruelty were put to death alongside us.
We eat turnips to remember the bitter fate of the Germans set for us. We say no blessings because there are no words. Eat a piece of turnip.
Soon the Germans forced us from the ghettos and cities into concentration camps. Sarah Selver says, "In our blind ignorance, we thought deportation was a better solution. Fools that we were, we thought the ghetto was the ultimate in abysmal blackness. We did not know that from on we would be severed and cut off from everything familiar and dear to us. We did not know from that chain right on we would be robbed of our whole world." Psalm 55 recalls our fear. "My heart shudders within me, and the terrors of death have descended upon me. Fear and trembling penetrate me and am enveloped with horror." They separated the children from their mothers, the wives from their husbands, remembers Livia Lieberman. We were forbidden to take leave of each other, so we were parted from our dear ones without a word. Those who could not work were murdered. Those who could work were kept as slaves until they too succumbed to starvation and illness.
Kiddush in the Camps. Our third cup is filled with water to remember that in the camps they had nothing. Again, we say no blessing because there are no words.
In grief, remember the thriving, vibrant Jewish communities that were destroyed. So many were lost, we cannot list them all. Let these few represent us, the many. Chant these names. Oh, sorry, that's just directions. I'm not sure how to chant them, if I'm going to be honest.
Jump in if you want. You're going to chant these names, and very much like we would at a Passover Seder, you're going to take a drop from your glass and place it on a plate or a napkin with each name. Warsaw, Vienna, Salonika, Riga, Kiev, Sarajevo, Chelm, Kielce, Wiesbaden, Prague.
I'm going to take a moment and read some of these descriptions to yourself.
Despite their eagerness to strip us of our Judaism and our humanity, we held fast. In the book of Daniel, we are told, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said to the king, "Our God is able to save us from the burning fiery furnace, but even if he does not, we will not serve your God." Daniel 3:16-18. In spite of the hardship of the ghettos, we continue to educate our children. to celebrate our holidays, to love and to help each other. Although prayer was forbidden, hidden synagogues would be found in every ghetto. From what magical stream does by mother draw strength for all of this? Irene Liebman wrote from the Lotz Ghetto. There must be some great hidden force, a force of love, a force of tremendous will to hold on and watch out for us. The hunger for learning and knowledge was common to all the ghetto youth. When the schools were closed down, all the youth movements launched wide cultural activities, lessons, meetings to celebrate Sabbath eves and holidays, discussions and interest groups, lectures and studies held in private apartments, attics, warehouses, vacant cellars, and any other plausible or implausible place. Indeed, given our monstrous reality and daily struggle for physical survival, such activities awarded us blessed hours of spiritual pleasure and emotional solace. Sarah Selver.
From tomorrow on, I shall be sad. From tomorrow on. Today, I will be happy. What's the use of sadness? Tell me that. Because the evil winds begin to blow. Why should I grieve for tomorrow today? Tomorrow may be good, so sunny. Tomorrow may shine for us again. We shall no longer be sad. From tomorrow on, I shall be sad. From tomorrow on, not today. No, today I will be glad. And every day, no matter how bitter it be, I will say, from tomorrow on, I shall be sad, not today. Even in the camps, as impossible to endure as they were, some of us managed to hold on to faith and secretly and oh so quietly to our culture.
Our faith was the one thing they could not take from us. Rivka Wagner.
The Unbreakable Core. Take an olive or a date or a mango and recite these lines. These fruits with their unbreakable inner core represent our inner strength. In the face of pure evil, we maintained our humanity and our faith. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri ha'etz. Blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the tree. Eat the olive or date, be careful, they have pits, and mango has skin.
As the evening drew near, a few of us gathered between bunks for the Friday evening service, remember Simcha Undorfer. As I began to whisper the familiar words, I was lulled by a feeling of tranquility. I discovered for the first time in my life the real power and value of prayer and faith in God. I could feel my words shattering the iron gates and the high-powered fences, going out past the hundreds of guards, dugouts, and watchtowers, out into the open, reaching towards heaven. Here, I knew, was a way of escape, a source of strength and a means of survival of which no power on earth could deprive me.
And we fought for our freedom. This song was sung by those fighting back. We were driven by an age-old desire that links us together next year in Jerusalem. Kol od baneva benima nefesh Yehudi omiya yifate mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia, oh Lord, Hatikvah, Hatikvah bat shnot elpayim, leotam chofshim be'artzenu. Zion, Yerushalayim. בירושלים, ליותם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון בירושלים.
You must not say that you now walk a final way, because the darkened heavens hide the blue of day. The time we've longed for will at last draw near, and our steps as drums will sound we are here. From land all green with palms to land all white with snow, we now arrive with all our pain and all our woe. Where our blood sprayed out and came to touch the land, there our courage and our faith will rise and stand. The Song of the Partisans.
And there were those who saw the great evil for what it was and risked their lives to help us. Dr. Ella Lingens risked her life to help Jews escape and to save our lives, even when she too was trapped in the camps. She said, if I were to fail to turn away and thus permit the death of this person whom I could perhaps save, only because I was in danger myself, I would be committing the same error as the entire German people. The people who ordered and implemented these horrible deeds were not so many, but infinitely many others let it happen because they lacked the courage to prevent them. People in all parts of Europe stood up for what was right. They hid friends, neighbors, and in many cases, strangers from the eyes of those who would do us harm. In France, in 1942, Pastor André Trocmé said, I do not know what a Jew is, we only know what human beings are. These people knew they risked their lives by helping. They helped anyway. Some paid for their kindness with their lives. Elie Wiesel said, and so we must know these good people who helped Jews during the Holocaust. We must learn from them, and in gratitude and hope, we must remember them.
Please take a moment and read some of these descriptions to yourself.
These flowers represent those who helped. They gave us a new life, showed us beauty in the darkness, and provided food for body and soul. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shemevi ezrach linzerakim. Blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, who brings help to those in need. There are stars whose radiance is visible on earth, though they have been long extinct. There are people whose brilliance continues to light the world, though they are no longer among the living. These lights are particularly bright when this night is dark. They light the way for humankind. Hannah says,
Hannah Shenesh.
thank you.
Liberation did come. The armies of the world moved towards vanquishing the evil they knew. Their pathway towards spring Europe opened the gates of a hell that left them stunned. Daniel prophesied, is it prophesied or prophesied?
Prophesied.
Okay, prophesied. It will be a time of trouble like of which has never been since the nation came to being. At that time, your people will be rescued. Daniel 12:1. Sometimes liberation comes by the hand of the armies. Sometimes it comes by our own hands. Whether bound by physical barbed wire or metal bonds, we must be the liberators for ourselves and those who are oppressed. Open the door if possible. Must cruelty always be? Must inhumanity ever be the signature of man? No, no, we refuse to accept that. We refuse to give hatred the last word because we know the power of love. We refuse to believe that cruelty will prevail because we have felt the strength of kindness. There is hatred. Where there is hatred, may we bring love. Where there is pain, may we bring healing. Where there is darkness, may we bring light. Where there is despair, may we bring hope. Make this a better world and let it start by our hands. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, who frees the captive. Close the door.
Most of our loss left no footprints, no fingerprints, no artifacts. All we have left is their tunes, their words, and their spirit. We fill the cup of the loss and we remember them. As long as we remember them, they are with us still. Donia Rosen requested, I ask you not to forget the deceased. I ask you to build a memorial in our names, a monument reaching up to the heavens, that the entire world might see. Not a monument of marble or stone, but one of good deeds. For I believe with full and perfect faith that only such a moment can promise you and your children a better future. Only thus can we be sure that the evil that overturned the world and turned our lives into hell will never return. We now invite you to raise your hand and share about family involved in the Holocaust, as well as what the Holocaust means to you.
Feel free to raise your hand in the reactions function, or simply to unmute yourself and share your thoughts. Mia has something to share, and then we'll go to Ingrid.
Well, I think when I think of the Holocaust, I remember my grandma's story. And she, her father was Jewish, and she was born in Belgium, and he was hiding from the Nazis, and he eventually died in Auschwitz, and then she fled Belgium and grew up in England, and she was always really brave, and yeah.
Thank you, Mia. Ingrid, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I grew up in Hamburg, Germany. I was born in 1943. Excuse me, I'm getting emotional. And I didn't know any Jews growing up. Of course, there weren't any left. Germans who were born before the end of the Nazi regime. So I was born in 43, so it ended in 45. So I unfortunately have not myself only, but everybody was born before 45 and was German, has a swastika on their birth certificate. So fast forward, in my 20s, I met a wonderful medical student in Lausanne, Switzerland, where I was studying French. And he ended up being Jewish, and we ended up getting married in 1969. And we came to the United States, where he was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and became a well-beloved physician here in town. And I have been leading a Jewish life with him. When we got married, I promised that I would help raise the children of the Jewish faith. And I did. In fact, last year I attended a beautiful bat mitzvah in Hawaii, where my daughter lives. But the point I want to make is that I actually converted to Judaism after all these years. I should have done it much earlier. I was just too comfortable. Everybody was friendly and accepted me and Sherith Israel, who I was and what I was doing. But finally, when I saw that swastika on my birth certificate and when my beloved husband had passed away, and I had so much help from the Jewish community, it was time for me. And then there was no Jewish grandparent left for the bat mitzvah in Maui last year. And so December of 19, I converted. And so I just wanted to share how grateful I am for all the good work you guys are doing. It's very meaningful. Thank you.
Ingrid, we're so grateful that you are formally in every possible way part of our Jewish community, having been in almost every possible way part of our Jewish community for many, many years. But you are a true asset to the Jewish people. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm terribly embarrassed and terribly upset about what happened to 6 million Jews and non-Jews and how it could happen. Yeah, anyway, that's another story.
Well, you're doing your part to try to right the wrong.
Thank you, Ingrid.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who wants to share their
Can you
thoughts?
hear
Go
me,
ahead.
Ingrid?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
Please go ahead.
thank you. I did hear you. I appreciate it.
Yes, this is John Deller. I'm on Jobina's iPad. Ingrid, thank you for sharing that. You're always so beautiful to listen to, and what a great volunteer you are. Just fabulous. And I want to say that the SITY group, the teen group, was just fabulous with their readings. Thank you.
It was beautiful.
Thank you, John. Well, Monique wants to share.
Okay, I just want to say I come from a family of refugees because my parents were both in Austria. They were teenagers, the Nazis invaded, but they lived through the first years, of the Nazi occupation and, and the fear that Jews were subjected to. And then my mother's family escaped by boat. They went through Italy and went on a boat. And my father first went to France, and he stayed with this woman who later became in the French resistance named Marguerite. She was a teacher. And he was very attached to her. And then he also went to live in Holland. And later, they both met in Peru, and because I guess they had family in Peru already. So that's where the country they could go to. They left Austria. But I was born here, but they told us about, being refugees. And I think a lot of members of my father's family were killed in the extermination camps.
Thank you for sharing. Go ahead.
I think the only relatives of my father's family who survived were the ones who had gone to Palestine earlier.
Well, thank you for sharing your family's stories with us.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who'd like to share stories? All right, I think we're moving on. Thank you so much, everyone who shared, and we're so grateful that you're all here, and we know that we all have our own unique connections with the Holocaust, and we honor all of those in this Seder.
As we rise to say Kaddish for our dead, we remember the mixed multitude who were murdered alongside us. Roma people, LGBTQ+ people, people with disabilities, voices of resistance, all were murdered in the great silencing of speech and opposition. Their spirit is with us, and their loss is felt as we gather and mourn our losses. Light the yahrzeit candle and rise.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yitaleh, v'yithalal, shmei d'kudsha, brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Se shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen.
I added this picture to our slideshow. Ms. Doba was very special to our teens. Not only was she at every bar bat mitzvah, but she really gathered a lot of strength to come and talk to us about her experiences. And she spoke, and this is the last group of kids that got to hear her story in person, is David and Max, who got to lead this service today. And so we'll remember her because her story is recorded by one of the Holocaust museums in the United States. And so we can always rewatch it and remember Doba's story, but we wanted to include her in our Seder.
I give you this one thought to keep. I am with you still, I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the sweet uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not think of me as gone. I am with you still in each new dawn. Traditional Native American prayer arrangement by Susan Collin.
And so we begin to rebuild our lives and form new communities. There so many were lost. While the world counted their dead, we sought to count our living and to find the strength to return to life. Ezekiel prophesied, "Thus said Adonai, I will open your graves and lift you out. I will put my breath in you, and you shall live again." We are the living because they chose life. As we were all at Sinai, so we were all children and survivors. As it was written in the Torah, and you shall tell your child on that day, it is because of what Adonai did for me when I went free from Egypt. Here, at the end of our journey, we drink a cup of wine to celebrate our survival and our rebirth. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pori hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shiakianu v'kiyimanu v'hiyanu lazman chazeh.
Amen.
Amen.
Sorry, I had trouble unmuting myself. Okay. How does one mourn for 6 million people who died? How many candles does one light? How many prayers does one recite? Do we know how to remember the victims, their solitude, their helplessness? They left us without a trace, and we are their trace. Elie Wiesel from Days of Remembrance, 2001.
As we come to the end of our journey, we find that even knowing our story, questions linger in our minds. Hatred comes from fear of people who are different from us, whose ways we do not understand. Hatred grows when we allow that fear to keep us from getting to know each other. We can fight hatred by bringing people together in friendship and by learning about each other. When we get to know each other, we drive out fear and grow to love instead of hate. Many people were afraid for themselves. Others did not care because their daily lives were not impacted. We must remember that some fought for us as best they could. We must remember that both the courage of those who helped us and the indifference of those who were silent. For all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men and women do nothing. We must always strive for the courage to help those in need and never allow ourselves to be indifferent to the plight of others. Many have tried to destroy us: Pharaoh, Amalek, Haman, Caesar, the Inquisition, and the Nazis. None have succeeded, for in the teachings of our holy books, we are continuously instructed to choose life. Choose life so that you and your children shall live. Deuteronomy 30:19. As we fought physical, mental, and spiritual battles, we held tight to the generations-old cry of L'chaim, to life. We continue by living our Judaism and by not letting the evil destroy our faith in God or in humanity. We are commanded to free the captive and to lift up the fallen, because we were slaves in the land of Egypt. We must remember the affliction of our people so that no people shall ever suffer such fate again. As it is written, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Leviticus 19:18.
We end our journey with the words of the prophet Isaiah. It is the prayer of all peoples from generation to generation. Someday they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not raise up sword against nation, nor shall they learn war anymore. But don't stop after the beating of the swords into plowshares. Don't stop. Go on beating and make musical instruments out of them. Whoever wants to make war again will have to turn them into plowshares first. No isa goyel goy cherev, no yilmedu od milchama, lo isa goyel goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. Don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Just walk beside me and be my friend, and together we will walk in the path of Hashem. Hey-oh. Oh, hey, hey, oh, oh, hey.
As we remember both the sacrifices and the strength of our ancestors, we celebrate our survival by eating together in friendship. We eat not the rough bread of our troubles, but the good bread of our survival. Take a piece of bread, I don't have any, and recite the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth.
Thank you all so much for coming this evening. Thank you to all the teams who made it happen. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Zach.
And thank you to Shoshana, who did not make it. So the next time you see her, thank her for putting together the slideshow and for helping getting all these parts assigned. And our board worked really hard on this event. I'm so proud. This is like I didn't think you guys could one up the first and second graders doing the 4 questions, but I'm having 2 proud educator moments in one season. So this is you guys amaze me. I
Yeah,
love working with you.
it was beautiful. I have one last thing to say. I forgot to mention, as a 2-year-old baby, my mother took me to some farming estate of the family in Eastern Germany from Hamburg. And actually from 0 to 2, we lived there because there was food and there were no bombs. And that family that owned this farming estate actually was housing a certainly family Lehmann, Lehman, that my mother, who's now recently passed away as well, told me they were friends from Berlin of the family. They were Jewish, they were being hidden, and they were every night crawling under their blankets or their bed or underneath the bed and listening to a little transistor radio and listening to where the enemy was and where the Nazis were, and kept on. They knew finally that the Russians would come and when to start expecting liberation. So I'm proud to say that within my family, there were 2 Jews were hidden in this family estate. I had to add that to all the other grief I have.
That's good. That's a beautiful story. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.